tuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
I want to invite our spiritual leaders today, Sheikh Abu Katada and Bishop Lela Jimmy Boma, to come and lead us in a word of prayer. We keep standing, please. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Amen. Baba mtakatifu uishie milele, you are our only Father we depend on. Thank you for bringing us onto this place as we want to take these sessions as we start, and all the days we are going to be here. I pray upon the participants and everything which is going to be done, and all the activities, we bring them onto your holy hands. Let your presence fill this place now and forevermore, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get seated. Our chief guest, the Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Education, our Principal Secretary is present, leader of delegation from Finland, and our visitors from Finland, the various vice chancellors, CEOs, and colleagues in the Ministry of Education and the academia and industry. Most welcome to this conference. I wish to request the vice chancellors who are in the room to kindly take the seats just behind the guests, the seats written VIP in front of us. If there are vice chancellors and CEOs still at the back, kindly move to the front, or their representatives. We're going to just have a brief introduction of conference participants. This conference has been organized by the Ministry of Education, spearheaded by the State Department for University Education and Research, under the leadership of Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi. Kindly, all officers from the Ministry of Education, all the state departments, kindly stand up wherever you are. A round of applause for the officers from the Ministry of Education. Thank you very much. We have vice chancellors, deputy vice chancellors, and representatives from our various universities, both public and private. Kindly, wherever you are, rise up. A round of applause for our colleagues from the universities. Thank you very much. We have invited guests also from our technical training institutions, from our teacher training colleges. Wherever you are, kindly rise up. A round of applause for them, please. Thank you. We have chief executive officers of our various agencies, corporations. Kindly rise up, or their representative. The CEOs and officers from our various agencies. Dr. Mushero, I can see you somewhere. Kindly rise up and say a round of applause for our CEOs. as well as from the county government that are with us, kindly stand up wherever you are. Private sector, industry, CEO Cornelius, kindly stand up. A round of applause for our colleagues from the private sector and industry. And then we have our guest, our most honored guest from Finland, all the way from Finland. The other day I was saying Finland share a border with Russia, a very long border indeed. Kindly, our guest from Finland, if you could stand up. A round of applause for them, please. Thank you, thank you. Last but not least, we have our colleagues from the media. They are in the room, and can we acknowledge them with a round of applause? Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the Principal Secretary, University Education and Research, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, to give us the conference background and proceed with the program. PS, please. A round of applause for PS Nabukwesi.
The Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Education, Dr. Sarah Ruto, Principal Secretaries present, the Director Internationalization and Business Operations in Finland, and friends from Finland, the Director, Max Global Group, Mr. Cornelius Kiplagat, CEOs and state agencies, CEOs of state agencies and research organizations, the Vice Chancellors of public universities and private universities, principals of constituent colleges, principals of TVET institutions and teacher training colleges, keynote speakers, facilitators and resource persons, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here today to attend this conference that brings together professionals in education from Finland and from Kenya. I take this opportunity to recognize and officially welcome visitors from Finland, headed by Dr. Karita Proki, and I wish to appreciate the Director Max Global and committee members drawn from the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Max Global Group for tirelessly working towards the success of this international conference. It is indeed a great honor for me to invite all participants to this three-day conference, whose theme is co-creation of curriculum, training, policy development, and linking of education to industry. Indeed, this provides an avenue for dialogue and discussion with our partners from Finland, which aims to herald transformation in our education sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this conference resonates very well with the current trends in the education sector across the world. It cross-disciplinary partnerships. Learning institutions at all levels, therefore, have a responsibility to create a generation of policymakers, scientists, and innovators who understand the importance of placing sustainable development at the heart of their work towards the realization of Kenya Vision 2030, the African Union Agenda 2063, and the SDGs. This requires that all training and research institutions review curricula and embed the concept of sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Kenya is committed to bringing changes in education sector to adapt to the ever-changing needs and aspirations and challenges, and to be in needs and aspirations and challenges, and to be in line with social economic development of the country in the 21st century, as outlined in the Kenya Vision 2030 blueprint. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with guests who are also friends, partners, as well as potential partners for our institutions in Kenya. We were linked together through Max Global Director, Mr. Cornelius Kiplagat, who is also a resident in Finland, and he is here with us. If you've done any research on the best education systems in the world, systems that produce scholars who are relevant to the needs of the nation, then you'll find that Finland ranks very high, right at the top, because products of that system don't become jobless, don't become idlers in development of their country. And they have been implementing CBC and reviewing it over years. They are also very friendly people. I and a few officers visited just about 6 weeks ago, and we found that they are more than willing to partner with anybody in the world. And I realized that if we don't move very quickly into partnerships with them, then we are very likely to lose them to other people who are keener to partner with them and benefit from their wealth of knowledge and experience in the implementation of the education system that works, that serves the people, that serves the purpose, that transforms the society and puts it at the level that they desire to have it. We have a lot of challenges in our education system, and I'm very happy that our Cabinet Secretary is represented here very well by the Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Sarah Ruto. And this presence of the leadership of the ministry and state agencies, universities, and colleges across the country should be a message to our guests from Finland that Kenya is ready to partner. And in this meeting, I want to encourage individual initiatives by the leaders in our institutions, both private and public, to reach out to our guests and interact with the people informally as well. I want to think we shall leave this conference when we are different people. That is the purpose why we are here today. I want to encourage that we benefit in the formal sessions as well as in the informal sessions through interactions. I wish to stop there, MC. I'm sure the minister will speak more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our peers. Thank you. Allow me, Chief Guest, to invite the CEO, Max Global, Mr. Cornelius Kiplagat, to not only introduce our Finnish delegation, but also just give us insight into this collaboration. Bwana Cornelius.
CIS President Sarah Ruto, Principal Secretary of University Education Ambassador Simon Bukwesi, Principal Secretary Curriculum Professor Fatma Chege, Dr. Karita Progi, Principal Secretary for Post Training Alfred Cheriot, and our friend from Finnish Embassy, Mads. Vice Chancellors present with us, representative from Vice Chancellor's desk, principals for TVETs, and representation from basic education and all the state department agencies. Good morning. My name's Cornelius Kiplakat. I'm representing Max Global as a CEO. Personally, I've been living in Finland for more than 10 years, and I've seen a lot in that country. Being a Kenyan, born in the soil of Kenya, I decided to work closely with the Finnish community, more so to the education sector, because the need of our industry occupation in this country is a lot. And the education is part and parcel of development in every country. And that is why when we incubated the process of starting to work together with universities in Finland, we looked at the need of industry development in the country. And not only in Kenya, but we've tried as much as possible to work together with other parts of other countries in Africa. And we've seen the journey that Kenya as a nation have gone in terms of development, of course more than other countries in Africa, but it's not enough. I will give you a brief history of what we have done together with universities and institutions that we are working together with cluster universities and institutions in Finland since 2016. And what we looked into is that I think we started by trying to see what opportunities for our Kenyan students who are willing to study and work in Finland. Thanks to Tampere University of Applied Science who are present with us. We also have Hämeenlinna University of Applied Science who are present with us. We also have Jyväskylä University of Applied Science who are present with us. We have TAC, Tampere Adult Education Center, that are present with us this morning. We also have TREDU who are with us, and of course represented by the government embassy representing the government of Finland. And what we started then is that we requested them to support our Kenyan students by ensuring that they study and live in the first cohort of our 25 students from Elgeyo Marakwet County. We had the first cohort of the students that went to Tampere University of Applied Science, about 25 students who are studying degree in nursing. We did the second cohort from Uasin Gishu County, which then they were going to do degree in nursing. They went to Tampere University of Applied Science. The first group for practical, or rather diploma, they went to TAC, the third cohort. We have also the fourth cohort who went to do another nursing from Tampere University of Applied Science. We have physiotherapy class. We have 25 students studying in Jyväskylä University of Applied Science. We have the next group going to Hämeenlinna University Applied Science studying smart organic farming. We have also another group who went to do the practical nursing from Tampere Adult Education Center. We also have another group, 25, going to, they have already started their studies in TREDU. So in average, we are doing around 500 Kenyan students who are studying in Finland and working in Finland. that demonstrate the commitment of Finnish government to ensure that they could have partnership with Kenya government that is solid. Being worked there and stay there, I have seen the efficiency from the working environment to the studying environment. And I've been asking myself, why the working environment and the nature of how Finnish people work in their industries, the efficiency is so high. And I keep asking myself, why everything seems to be so simple? The systems are working, everything are working. 2 millimeter. And then I start looking back and say, why we are not doing the same? And I realize the backstop in education system. The impact of education system in Finland to the community of Finland, it's so effective, which are very strong, bring the sense of university working closely with the industries there. On March this year, sometimes this year, we had a Global Education Leadership Summit that was done in Tampere University of Applied Science. And the conference was 1 week conference. They were talking about the future of education in Finland and the world. There's something I borrowed from the same conference. And I realized Finnish community and the Finnish education sector, they are very busy thinking of future 50, 100 years from now. What is the trend of the technology? What is likely to affect the education sector in the world? What is it needed now that will take care for the future? What is the curriculum talking about the future? What are we looking at now in future? What are our leadership talking about democracy, education, and future? This is something that we don't have in this country. And if we have, maybe you can correct me. So I think it is high time for us to create an impact way of working together with Finnish government and the Finnish institutions. They have demonstrated the friendship to work with us and partner with us and develop industries to look at the co-creation of curriculum. I've worked with Finnish institutions for so long. I've also interacted with other communities in the world. The culture of how they think, an innovative way of working, is a result-oriented. And Finnish people, because they are our friends, have worked in the sense that until we are so close that the way we work is seamless, until I've understood that the nature of working, they're looking at the results, they're looking at the impact, they're looking, and they are so open. They know they don't bring they are not giving us, or rather giving us a solution that is stacked with something else. They are committed to deliver what they will deliver, or rather assignment that we have hoped to be working with them as a partner. I don't want to take much time because I know so many speakers they will still talk about. Lastly, as a company, what we've done, because of the nature of our portfolio programs that we have in the company, we decided to lift master's students. Part of the master's students are actually our staff, and some of them are partners, some of them are banker partners, some of them are our clients, and we lift the 25 students, that the first cohort for masters in risk management and circular economy, and this is to give an impact of looking at the product that we are producing in our industries to have a circular economy thinking. Because I know where we are heading in the global environmental blueprint, we are looking at how any product that we introduce in the market have a sustainability component. And we really appreciate the team from Finland headed by Dr. Karita Poki, who has given us an opportunity for our Kenyans to get an opportunity to study in the best education in the world, for better future of our country, for better future for our children and nation. We are determined and we are focused to see our cooperation and friendship continue effectively to our children and development of this nation in future. With those few remarks, say thank you so much and God bless you. Let's continue interacting. Thank you.
A round of applause for Cornelius Kiplagat, CEO Max Global. Allow me, Chief Guest, to request representative of the PS Vocational and Technical Training to make a few remarks. He's the Director, Technical Education, Bwana Tom Mulati.
The Chief Administrative Secretary, the PSS President, the head of the Finland delegation, distinguished facilitators and delegates, good morning. Good morning. Allow me to briefly make remarks on behalf of the Principal Secretary, State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Dr. Margaret Makima, who could not be with us today but will join us tomorrow. We welcome this co-creation conference for the TVET sector because we realize that it has a lot to give to us in the TVET sector and therefore in the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training. As we are all aware, TVET is all about empowering the youth with skills which are required for gainful employment. And in the State Department, we have given ourselves to address the aspect of access to TVET skills through the construction of new TVCs. We have given ourselves to the access to TVET through the provision of skills for special needs trainees. We have given ourselves to increase access across the gender with encouragement for the female gender in science, engineering, and technology. We have also given ourselves to the expansion of the non-traditional TVET programs. That is, we intend that our TVET curriculum portfolio is expanded to include a little more courses that are required by the labor market. We are also in the State Department concerned about the quality of the skills that are being provided, and in this respect we provide supportive equipment for purposes of training. We support aspects of how the equipment can be procured and how the equipment can be put to best use. With regard to quality of the training, we are also very much focused on the continuous professional development of our trainers so that they do not run outside what the trends are leading to. We are also concerned about the relevance of the vocational training, and with this then the issue of industry becomes very, very important to us. Work integrated learn, cooperative training, and attachment, and therefore the theme really resonates very well with us because we will be keen to study and see how we can co-create with our Finland partners on how we can work with the industry in Kenya even better for purposes of skills development. With regard to relevance, we also have curriculum development, which we are doing with the industry through sector skills advisory committees, and therefore we are also very much keen on the theme resonating with us in the State Department. We will be looking into ways and means of how we can co-create aspects of curriculum development from where we are to where we are moving in the future. We also are keen on skills anticipation and matching, as we realize that in the TVET sector, skills keep changing day by day, and therefore it is necessary for us to do a lot of skills. And we will be waiting to co-create something on that aspect with our partners. On matters policy, I wish to say that we are in the process of reviewing the TVET Act 2013, which has served us for those years, but we have come to a point where we have realized that we need to review it to quickly align it to where we are going. And therefore, on matters of policy, we also find that we will be really benefiting from this as we review our TVET Act this year. Over and above that, in the TVET arena, we are also concerned about applied research and innovation, and we will also be presenting our views as concerns applied research and innovation, so that we can be able to give our position, and we can also be able to learn from our partners on the best practices. Same shall we also be doing to recognition of prior learning, which is already going on. There's another conference going on at White Sands Hotel, and we are all looking at how we can do recognition of prior learning of the skills that exist in the country with a view to certification of the same. So overall then, we find that we will really be involved as a State Department for Vocational and Technical Training to understand the governance structure that we require to uphold for us to achieve a more responsive TVET training as we go into the future. And with those few remarks, allow me to say we are glad to be part of this process, and we stand to gain. Thank you, CS.
Thank you very much. Allow me to invite the Regional Manager, Coast, Kenya Bureau of Standards, who has a few remarks on behalf of the PS industrialization. Bwana Charles Muse, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I am here on behalf of the PS, Ambassador Kirimi Mwiria, Principal Secretary, State Department of Industrialization. He was not able to attend the conference, and I was given the task of reading his speech. I will not dwell much other than just deliver the speech from the PS. Ambassador Simon Nambukwesi, CBS, Principal Secretary, State Department for University Education and Research, members of academia, captains of industry, policymakers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to join you today as you commence this conference, which I presume brings together academia, industry, and policymakers under the theme co-creation of curricula, training, policy development, and linking education to industry. This initiative is indeed commendable, as academia, industry, government collaboration is increasingly gaining prominence the world over as the most effective, efficient, and preferred development model. Without academia, industry, government collaboration, nothing will do, and with it everything. Such collaboration creates an ecosystem factory in which, one, industrial needs are identified and industrial strategy defined, culminating in spin-off and startup enterprises. Collaboration with industry, real-life projects, and lifelong learning results in transfer of latest scientific research of industry. And third, the balance between engineering science and engineering practice in form of curriculum that has enabled them to become more effective in service delivery. This is through better models and paradigm shifts that reduce bureaucratic delays, improve efficiency, and that are strategic in working toward outcomes. Academia has also been key in shaping our national development plans and in tracking their performance, while industry is the vehicle that achieve all this. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2017, the manufacturing sector was identified as the key driver for economic growth and development under the Big Four agenda. The sector plays a critical role in contributing to economic growth and generating employment as the country moves towards realization of the aspirations of Vision 2030. Its overall goal was to increase its contribution of the GDP at 15% by 2022 from 9.2% in 2016. Whereas there are notable large industries in the country, they are not well spread out and are not able to harness local resources in a manner that would equitably and suitably improve the lives of the citizenry. Secondly, large industries have not been able to adequately engage Kenya's youth as a factor of production to provide them with a source of earning an income and grow their skills. It is against this background the State Department for Industrialization is rolling out the One Village, One Product, abbreviated as OVOP initiative, a development model initiated in 1979 in the rural Oita Prefecture, that is county of Japan, by the late Dr. Morihiko Iramatsu, when he served as the governor of the prefecture. The model has since been replicated in several other countries in the world with commendable results. Kenya has adopted this model in the past, but due to lack of requisite resources, the program slowed down. Through the model, each village identifies a valuable local resource, then adds value to marketing activities. The concept targets to utilize the locally available resources to create jobs and wealth for the local communities across the country. As you may be aware, cottage industries are increasingly becoming a key in lifting many developing economies to their next level of industrialization, as experienced in Japan, India, Colombia, Brazil, Taiwan, and Thailand, among other countries. Kenya has an opportunity to be the same through the One Village, One Product initiative, in which each village identifies a valuable local resource of manufacturing and a valuable addition through value addition through processing, sales, and marketing. OVOP has three principles, namely identification and development of resources at the local level, self-reliance, and human capital development. Through this initiative, the government will demystify industrialization by acting as a catalyst for community mobilization in the undertaking of value addition at the local level, aggregating at the regional level in readiness to maximize on the country's manufacturing and export potentials. The OVO initiative will also ensure that local content is achieved through planned sourcing, alignment, and processing of raw materials to the next level of production for bigger industry or as finished goods in themselves. OVO as a concept is also key in youth empowerment and employment, as the latter would not need to migrate to take part in Kenya's industrial revolution. I wish to conclude my remarks by welcoming Kenya's academia to continue reaching out to government and industry to proffer ideas and solutions. That is the idea behind the creation of a university as a center of learning, research, and outreach. It is our collective task to work towards realizing the words of the founding father of the Republic, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, in seeking to become architects of the future. It is with your intellectual energy and innovation that we will build a better, greater Kenya. On its part, government is committed to fulfilling its mandate with regard to intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya as enshrined in the Kenya Constitution 2010. The Constitution of Kenya recognizes intellectual property rights as a property and creates an obligation for the government to promote, protect, support, and enhance intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya. And the university should ideally be an oasis of the intellectual property. Towards this end, the State Department for Industrialization, in collaboration with the stakeholders, have finalized developing Intellectual Property Bill 2020, which seeks to merge the Kenya Industrial Property Institute, the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, and the Kenya Copyright Board into Kenya Intellectual Property Authority. It will also result in consolidation of the functions of overseeing, registering, and protecting intellectual property rights, such as patents, trademarks, geographical indications, utility models, and copyrights, among others, thus creating a more effective and efficient entity for matters of intellectual property in Kenya. We will continue to work with the industry and academia to bring intellectual property services closer to the people. With these developments, universities can only go and create more intellectual property. We are anxious to receive your recommendations, the way forward in strengthening academia industry policymakers' collaboration for enhanced development. With these remarks, allow me to wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you. That is the speech from the PS. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Wana Charles Muse, the Regional Manager, Coast KPS, making remarks on behalf of the representative, the PS Industrialization. Hello? Hello? If you can see me, if you can hear me, wave to me, please. Now, turn to the person next to you and give them a high five. Turn to the other person next to you and give them a high five. The theme of this conference starts with co-creation. My basic knowledge tells me to co-create is to create by working with one or more other persons. Now, by the end of this day, you will have co-created something. So take note who's seated next to you, because there will be an assignment immediately after the remarks and the official opening. As we know, we're talking about Finnish education, and theirs is a practical education. Our PS curriculum reform is here, and we're talking about CBC. CBC is practical. So we'll have an assignment, and this is not a take-home assignment. It's not a homework. We'll do it in a short while. Allow me to invite the representative of the PS ICT, Mr. Hesbon Malwei. Hesbon Malwei is the director. Will make a few remarks on behalf of the PS ICT. Karibu.
The Chief Administrative Secretary, Minister of Education, Dr. Sarah Ruto, all the PSS are present here this morning, the head of the Finland delegation and the delegation, the CEOs present, the Vice Chancellors, all the education stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'll make some few remarks on behalf of the Principal Secretary, the State Department for ICT and Innovation in the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, Mr. Jerome Oche, who was supposed to be here this morning, but he was not able to make it, and therefore I will read his remarks. It is with great pleasure that I join you today on this important occasion for 4-day international conference on enhancing education in Kenya between today and the 26th. I therefore take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this conference for bringing together the various stakeholders to look into the 3 sub-themes, that is the curriculum and training, linking education with industry, education and policy development. This workshop comes at an opportune time when the government is looking into various ways of mainstreaming ICT to the school curriculum. Indeed, the volatility of the ICT issues requires a discussion on how the dynamic nature of the ICT need to be aligned in our curriculum at all levels so as to ensure that we churn out graduates that are able to cope with the current dynamics in the ICT sector. Additionally, in the growing digital world in which we find ourselves in, we face a future of immense possibilities. With every passing year, new technologies and services are emerging. As digital technologies become the cornerstone of our daily activities, governments, business, and individuals must adapt to these new realities. Kenya has indeed embarked on its digital transformation journey to ensure that the digital economy benefits become our reality, and it is our hope that all the Africa will walk this journey too. As digital technologies become the cornerstone of all our activities, the government, business, and individuals must adapt to the reality of these technologies. It is for this reason that our government formulated the Digital Economy Blueprint, which was launched in 2019, and it has 5 key pillars, being the digital government, digital business, infrastructure, innovation-driven entrepreneurship, and digital skills. Additionally, the government has come up with the National Information Communication Technology ICT Policy 2019. This is the one which was reviewed, as well as the Data Protection Act, which becomes a key component when it comes to protection of data. The ICT Master Plan, which is a 10-year projection where we are going in our area of ICT. The other foundation of the digital economy, which is infrastructure, is key. The government has greatly invested in the National Optic Fiber Backbone Infrastructure, that is the NOFB, as well as last mile connectivity project in a bid to grow the digital infrastructure capacity of the nation. Learning institutions and private entities have plugged into the infrastructure in a bid to offer digital learning platforms as well as students accessing learning materials. Universities, TVETs, Kenya medical training colleges are such institutions that have leveraged on our infrastructure greatly. The State Department for ICT and Innovation rolled out what is called the Constituency Innovative Constituencies. These centers provide youths the opportunity to not only enhance their digital and academic skills, but also to practically apply them to earn a living. Youths are facilitated with internet connection and laptops for use during the training sessions. Further, the centers offer a platform to nurture innovation through research by leveraging on the high-speed internet available. Through public-private partnership, the ministry has created employment of center managers as well as connecting youths to remote jobs. And therefore, there are a number of programs within the ministry to enhance this. One of them is the Ajira Digital Program, where youths are able to interact with the infrastructure for jobs. We have the Digital Literacy Program, which is an ongoing collaboration between our ministry and Ministry of Education. We have the Presidential Digital Talent Program, where it is a one-year intern program, and this is able to channel out skills and job coaching, mentorship in ICT innovations. Now, we are currently partnering with Codris in terms of introduction of coding syllabus in basic education. So coming back to the linking our education to the curriculum, there is need for aligning the ICT curriculum to the market. Due to the dynamic nature of ICT,
and then it is also a very fine example of the Africa strategy in action, as it really builds on establishing and nurturing partnerships between various partners and stakeholders. So, ladies and gentlemen, with those few remarks, allow me to on behalf of the embassy, wish you a nice and successful conference, and yeah, all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. It's now my humble duty to ask our PS, Ambassador Nabukwesi, to kindly invite the chief guest. And you can clap for me. I've managed. We've overshot, and my apologies for that. Karibu PS.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Education is very big. We sit in the same building, but we rarely meet. And whenever we meet with the Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Sarah Ruto, in our usual jokes, she'll make us to redefine our value in relation to what we do in that ministry. And she'll make our conscience more profound. You start thinking about what you plan, what you execute, what you don't execute, and so on and so forth. and she's a very versatile, brilliant leader who steps in effectively whenever the minister is completely occupied. And I'm very happy that her goodwill has been demonstrated again this morning by her traveling to be here with us despite the many responsibilities she has in the ministry and the role that she plays in the ministry. We used to have 3 of them. 2 went to politics. She remained alone. She covers all that they used to do, and she could still find time to be with us this morning. I think it will be good for us just to rise up, to feel fresh, to get oxygen in our brains. We can stretch a bit and swing a bit if you can, and then sit down and join me in welcoming our Chief Administrator. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Ambassador. You know, with such glowing words, he's making me feel like I should have gone to vie for something. But it is good it's all over now. I know you have been seated for long, wondering, perhaps sticking through how many more speakers need to come and go. So I am the only one between you and tea. So at least let me borrow your ears for these few more minutes. So before I continue first, please do receive regards from our Cabinet Secretary, Professor Magoha, whom, as you've been told, really would have been here, but he sent me. And I am not complaining. I always say it is good he was not able to come. It has given me an opportunity to be here. Najua Kiswahili wa wanasema paka. What is that? Hiyo msemo paka? Asi kuepo panya hutawala. Sindio? But because we have international guests over here who will explain that to them, it doesn't quite come out in English. But because he's away, then I'm able to come here and to join all of you. It gives me an opportunity to see some of my colleagues. I can see Professor Kombo over there. We used to teach together in the university. I taught there for 15 years. So I'm very glad to be here this morning. Now, one of the things that is really Kenyan is going through the list of protocol. And you have all had it before. But I think the list of protocol is like a formal handshake. So because I'm here representing the CS, allow me to go through that. The Principal Secretary is present here today, Professor Fatuma, Ambassador Nabukwesi, Bwana Cheriot, and those who represented the other PSs, Head of Delegation from Finland, and the partners and presenters who have come from far. I don't know why it took you 24 hours. I thought it was a shorter distance between here and your country. I do not know if Professor Muluvi is here. You have been identified in the protocol. The CEOs of the state agencies and private organizations, the vice chancellors of both public and private universities present here, principals of constituent colleges, principals of TVET and TTC institutions, facilitators, resource persons, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning again. I'm just checking if this mic is also working, so I'm glad you have replied back. But indeed, I am delighted to be part of this conference, which is bringing together key actors in our tertiary institutions and coming to think together with friends. I'd like to think of you as friends from Finland, because if we were not friends, I don't think you'd have spent time to come here. And on the onset, I'd like to recognize the leadership of the CS in this, together with the principal secretaries, who listened to a voice of a Kenyan to think together in terms of bringing this collaboration together. And I begin by actually stressing on that, because as I was listening through, I heard about the role of Max Global as a citizen of this country who felt that based on his experience of living out there in Finland, that there was something he could do. And so that is a citizen agency that I think is very important, which as a value I'd like to recognize. That we all, if we, all of us, irrespective of which country we are, acted driven by citizen agency, I think would take global education very far. Listening to friends from Finland, they prioritize education as much as we do. And yet they're a little bit farther away than us. And so learning from them, understanding the values they have put in their system, I think will help us to get where we as a country need to go. So I really appreciate all the energy from various arms of government, because we have here ministry, the ICT, industrialization, education, different state departments in education coming together, and this has allowed this meeting to continue. And I think it is a spirit of collaboration, a spirit of partnership that we need to continue investing in. When we are thinking about education in Kenya, the policy intent on access, on equity, has always been there since independence. And at the moment, I'd like to say we are actually in an era of policy continuation, because what our founding fathers, we hardly ever talk of founding mothers, but it's okay. What the founders came up with at independence are with us today. We are still striving. Some of the things we have achieved, when we are thinking about the story of access, story of transition from basic to secondary education, these are almost resolved. Quality issues, this can still be worked on. Issues of learning inputs, ensuring that learners have books, which and various other inputs, teachers, there is a high-level commitment with the government spending over 25% of the annual expenditure on education. And there's need for policy continuation. And even if we are going through a transition, political transition, these policy imperatives continue on, which shows that we are maturing. We are as a system of education, and it is a maturity that we need to guard, because we need to reach where we know we can reach as a nation. So since independence, this has always been there. And when I see the visitors who have come over here, it is to learn from them so that we can bridge and ensure that the gap we sometimes feel between learning institutions and the world of work, the gap we feel between policy intent and practice, can be bridged a little bit. So we know where we need to go. It is how to get there that we need to work on. And I think it is very important to know your vision. Once you know where you need to go, then going where you need to go, crossing that channel, becomes a little bit easier. And so having friends to hold hands, to listen from, to learn from, I think is important as one is going through. And that is why this theme of this conference, co-creation of curriculum, training, policy development, and linking education to industry, is very important. When I look back to my time as a public servant, I spent the first 5 years as the chairperson of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and then just about a year and a half in this current position. And the one thing that strikes me in these, how many are they? 6.5 years, where we have been rethinking many things. And so I think it is a very good moment for all of us, especially you who are in the institutions of higher learning. Because universities, tertiary institutions, they need to give leadership in terms of the thought processes, the knowledge, and then connecting with government together. Government has a responsibility in terms of ensuring the constitutional right to everybody. And in this reform moment, there is an individual responsibility role we play as persons who have something to offer, and then of course there is what our institutions bring. And it is good for us to reflect on what we are doing, what we could do better. Because a reform moment is a good one where you inject things, but when things are sort of, stated, then you have to start the process of reviewing. So I'd like to invite all of us to take, to be more participative, both intellectually and otherwise, in this particular reform moment. I mean, I am very glad that the buzz in terms of the competency approach that we have decided is the way to think about rethinking our education. The buzz that used to be there initially in basic education, now you find it. You find it in teacher education institutions, in TVET institutions, because this is where we have institutions. And more recently, you also have it in universities. I know that the Commission of Higher Education has actually approved certain courses. It is a buzz that is important so that we have connectivity across the system and not only in one system. Because some of the competencies that we are trying to visualize and bring out, like when you're thinking about innovation, innovation cannot happen without creativity. And creativity cannot happen where, as one of our presenters here said, you have a quiet classroom. It has to be one in which the teacher activates the learners, is able to pull out the creative genius, and then you'll find that the basis of what needs to happen throughout our sector comes out. For us to be innovative, we have to be creative. For us to be creative, then we have to allow children to even dream, to think about a task in, I think it is in PP1. This is primary, PP1. What is PP1? PP, Darius? Pre-primary. A task in pre-primary, which I remember parents, it confounded parents and they were not happy with it, was together with your guardian, I think it's in PP2, together with your guardian, go and observe the sky. And parents were so upset with that task. Then they were like, what's wrong with these people of KICD? They don't think we have any more time. They want us to go and start observing the sky. What do you want me to tell my child as observing the sky? And there was a lot of complaint and just wondering why this task. But for those parents who tried it, they said, that task scared them. I don't know why it scared them. But when they dared to go, one parent told me that after looking for a blanket, went and put it down with a daughter, a father and a daughter, and he didn't know how to start the conversation. But it started. And he stayed there with his daughter for 4 hours. Because it began with looking at the sky. It was a clear one. That task is normally put when the calendar normalizes. It's when there are no clouds in Kenya. It's, so you're able to see the stars. Then after that, it became different forms and shapes. So there was a little bit of numeracy over there. And then it became religious. Does God live there? So there's a little bit of theory over there. And it came from a single task where the child was allowed to think beyond, to dream. So for us to be innovators, for us to think, we have to make space for the little things. And this is what the competency approach is trying to help us do. And that is why co-creation of the curriculum, we have to bring it back. And I'm very glad, Ambassador Nabukesi, that this is still a theme that we can continue to be thinking about. I'm also very glad that we have participants from different arms of government. The government policy has been operating as one government, ICT doing its thing to support teacher education, connecting or to support digital learning, etc. So the various people from other arms of government, you are completely welcome to this gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the era of the Sustainable Development Goals, in which Kenya is a signatory. And we signed in because we felt it was very important for education amongst other sectors to be thinking in a sustainable manner. You all know that the education institutions have a big responsibility in creating a generation of policymakers, scientists, and innovators who understand and make place for sustainable development at their work. And so as we are thinking about co-creation, we also have to think about it in the broader sense of how this links with the development of the nation, but also in a sustainable manner. As I stated, the current day policy making has continuity in this process, and today we do have the Kenya's Vision 2030 and the Big Four agenda in place, showing the government priority, which is to accelerate economic diversity by exploiting the resource endowments for food security, manufacturing, universal health care, and affordable housing. And this agenda is anchored on increasing access to education as a key driver for developing human capital. So, as I finish, I'd like to just reiterate on what else we could do with this partnership, both with the guests from abroad, but also amongst us, in order to strengthen the education sector. And some of this needs investment from outside, but for some of it, majority of it, we have the intellectual capacity that can allow us to move on. And the first one, because the theme is about co-creating of the curriculum, co-creating, it would be good, and I'm glad that we shall have various institutions, some of them who are already over here, to spend some time and think about the principles that guide us. So one of the things in the opening remarks of our Finnish delegation has been on the whole question of centralized versus decentralized curriculum development. So when one is thinking about co-creation, how does that happen within these principles? Secondly, a lot has also been stressed about the role of teacher education, and I'm bringing it up because one of the tasks I was charged with in the 1 year or so, 1.5 years, is teacher education. And do we have principals from teacher education institutions here, TTCs? Yes, we do. And we have been trying to put in a lot of energy over there. And the beauty is that we only have 35 public teacher training institutions. Are they at the right place where they need to be in terms of leading these reforms that we are talking about? Other principles are on assessment of learning, for learning. Before we started the reforms, we found that assessments, examinations, were pushing education rather than the other way around. And it is something that you do not want to be, that we are in a capture of the examination process. And these are just principles of what we are doing. Are we doing it in the right way? Secondly, I'd like us to take an opportunity to continue with the partnerships and collaborations, networks and linkages. When the private sector were asked to introduce themselves, I don't know if there was any, or maybe there was just one person who stood. Could it only have been you who stood, Bwana Max, from private sector? And this is often a missing link when we are having education conversations. Because here we are trying to link to industry, to link to the private sector, but you'll find us, we are talking amongst ourselves. So if we do not have many of private sector actors, then it is important to find ways of bringing them into the conversation. It is important to seek ways in which the investments shared They can offer internship positions, you know, all these dual linkages that the State Department of TVET has been working on, etc. So I think that is something that we need to continue thinking about. Smart partnerships across the borders, but also within. We can only be as good, our system can only be as good as ourselves. And I am glad that even when we come over here in a conference, it is part of developing our own skills. So there can be the more academic ones, which I've had that exchanges being done. But to what extent do we ensure that it is also spread across the spectrum? Could it be that all of us seated over here are in the same age group? Do we have young people over here? Vice Chancellors, who accompanied you for this trip? I'm not pointing out on you. Professor Kombo, let me point to him. Who accompanied you here from Kenyatta University? Because that's my old university, I can pick out him. Did you only come yourself, which means we are 40, 50-year-olds? Where are the young people? Because if we are not giving an opportunity, even in these spaces, for the young people to come and participate and just see and observe, then we are losing an opportunity. So let us not be talking about the youth as the leaders of tomorrow. They're the leaders of today if we give them an opportunity, both in small spaces and in big spaces. So let us always be youth-focused. The beauty of the youth is that they also bring a lot of energy, and they bring a lot of optimism. When you grow old, you can be jaded by the realities of the world. But young people are very optimistic. Let us always include them as we are thinking about capacity development in various, as we are doing our work. And then in the ministry, you also feel it's very important to be thinking about technology parks, incubation facilities in all institutions to promote innovation, commercialization. And because we have guests, if these are things that you're doing, it will be good to learn about them, see how we can continue these conversations in the Konza, for example, where we have KAIST, an institution of tomorrow that is coming up. So I do hope that you're going to use this conference as an opportunity to learn and also create friendships. Friendships can take us very far. So create these friendships, learn from each other. Today, we are very happy. We have friends from Finland whom, as they said, they're not coming to transfer anything. They offer themselves as a benchmark for you to see what is good for the system. So today we are learning from you. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to challenge all of us that tomorrow somebody else should be learning from us. We have to continue to be the leaders in the region. Tomorrow, we should be somewhere else in the region, be it Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, Congo, wherever it is, sharing this. Because when you are a leader, you're always thinking ahead. And when you're thinking, you're relevant, not only for yourself, but without. So let us continue to set our targets high, because we are able to do that. We learn today because tomorrow we are going to share. There is power in sharing. There is power in thinking about somebody else, because then you improve yourself. You become better yourself. With those few remarks, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. How many listened to me? Very good. I'd like to thank you for listening to me, and I'd like to declare this conference officially open. Asante.
Another round of applause for our chief guest. Thank you very much for those wonderful remarks, and the media are very keen on asking a few more questions of our high table here. My request is that you remain seated at the high table. The media will come in front here. Everyone else, we are having a tea break for 15 minutes. Tea is served to my left at the tents. Participants without badges, if you don't have a badge like this, kindly get one at the registration desk before you go for tea. This badge distinguishes 15 minutes. Our ushers will direct you accordingly. Clap for yourself for being good participants. Thank you, and let's break
for several years now in Finland. And although I'm representing a vocational institution, my approach is both national, regional and wet institution level. Next, please. So TREDU, Tampere Vocational College, is the second largest vocational education and training provider in Finland. We are a consortium of 12 different municipalities and city of Tampere, the second largest city in Finland, as a host municipality. We have 14 locations and 3 main campuses in the city of Tampere. Our annual revenue is about 90 million euros and staff members are about 1,100. Next, please. And Dr. Sarah, we have a video. Our students in TREDU, they made you greeting from the school. The video, unfortunately, it's a brand new because this conference was scheduled such a...
On tulevien ammattilaisten koti. Olemme Suomen toiseksi suurin ammatillinen kouluttaja, noin 17 000 opiskelijan kirjavalla joukolla. Meitä on moneksi ja meistä on mihin vaan. Olemme jakautuneet 14 eri toimipisteeseen ympäri Pirkanmaata. Olemme polku tuhansiin töihin ja lukemattomiin eri mahdollisuuksiin. Me TREDUssa haluamme olla tulevaisuuden teknologioiden edelläkävijä. Opiskelijamme pääsevät jo kouluaikana ottamaan haltuunsa tulevat työvälineensä ja siirtämään ammattitaitonsa työelämään. Rohkaisemme opiskelijoita yrittäjyyteen. Kaikki opiskelijat saavat yrittäjyyden perustiedot opintojensa aikana ja jokaisella on myös mahdollisuus yrittäjyysosaamisen kehittämiseen pidemmälle. Onnistuneiden opintojen taustalla on vahva yhteistyömme eri alojen yrittäjien, työnantajien ja muiden toimijoiden kanssa. TREDUssa luomme hyvinvoivaa ja turvallista yhteiskuntaa kouluttamalla ammattilaisia aktiiviseen maailmankansalaisuuteen. Meiltä valmistuu vastuullisia ja ammattitaitoisia kansalaisia, jotka ovat tietoisia ekologisen, sosiaalisen ja taloudellisen kestävyyden merkityksestä tulevaisuuteen ja hyvään elämään. TREDU on elinikäistä oppimista, uuden etsimistä, yhteiskunnallista vastuuta ja oman tiensä löytämistä. TREDU on turvallinen paikka kasvaa ja kehittyä. Meiltä saat ammatillista etumatkaa.
Rohkerete ja reilu. TREDU.
Next, please. Okay, and I'm very proud to announce that the first group of Kenyan students started in our college a week ago their 2-year program to be practical nurses. Okay, yes, it's a start with my colleagues as well. So, you probably know that we have been going through an enormous reform in our vocational education and training last years. We have reshaped the Finnish vocational education and training. We have moved to competence-based qualifications. We have decreased the amount of different qualifications, and the qualifications that remained, they are broader and more flexible than before. We have a stronger linkage with industry and working life nowadays, and it's getting even stronger and stronger. And there is a single way to show your skills demonstrations to complete your qualifications, and they are the skills demonstrations that are always assessed with two people, at least two people, one representing education and one representing working life. And if you are not familiar what is our reform, reshaped vocational education and training, there is another video about this.
As today's working life is changing all over the globe, so is the Finnish vocational education and training changing with it. In Finland, vocational education and training, or VET, is open to all, young and old. Admittance is continuous throughout the year. In addition, for students completing their compulsory education, there is a joint national application in the spring. When you are accepted into a VET program, you draw up a personal competence development plan together with your teacher. You get your previously acquired competencies recognized and plan how to gain any missing skills. This can be done by acquiring just a module, some modules, or a whole qualification. You acquire only the missing competencies, and therefore study times can also vary. You can learn in a goal-orientated and guided way in workplaces, at vocational colleges, workshops, or simulated learning environments. You are coached and supported in every step of the way. A highly qualified teacher is coaching you throughout the progress, and you have your own trainer at a workplace. The VET teachers exhibit a close connection of theory and practice. The vocational qualifications in Finland are developed in close cooperation with working life. You can acquire the missing competencies either at school or at work, usually as a combination of both. You demonstrate your skills in real-life situations. An assessment is based on the national qualification requirements. Finnish VET qualifications are generally broad, and all of them are composed of both compulsory and optional modules. Finnish VET provides skills sought after by organizations and society at large. After gaining your qualification, you can continue your studies in higher education, or move straight into working life and to a respected position within your sector. And most importantly, since the changes in work are ongoing, you can always return to VET to reskill or upskill. The newly reshaped Finnish vocational education and training provides a future-proof model for continuous and up-to-date competence development.
Next one, please.
Today's work.
Okay, so we have three types of vocational qualifications in Finland. Vocational basic qualifications to those usually young people without a qualification and who are just entering the labor market. Then we have further qualifications and specialist qualifications for those who want to reskill or upskill their competencies, usually adult people. But all these qualifications, they are broad and they are flexible to respond.
Are going to give skills that are required at the industry, or that are going to answer to the challenges that are there in this country. Something else that I also want to highlight on is the fact that we have developed a TVET blueprint, and we have two of them. One of them is intervention, so that whenever we are dealing with our development partners, we can be able to know where we are going to apply the assistance from the development partners, because now without the TVET blueprint, you are going to find that you are going to have a lot of duplications. But now with the TVET blueprints, that is the TVET blueprint, the TVET workforce blueprint, we can be able to target the kind of interventions that we are going to have. Another thing that we are currently dealing with are the policies. And these policies are assisting us to ensure that we are going to have linkage with the industry, and we are going to bring everybody on board. And one of the policies that we are currently doing is what we call the cooperative vocational training policy, variously known as the dual training policy. And this policy aims at bringing the industry on board to ensure that we shall be trained together with the industry, and we shall be assessing together with the industry, and also we are going to be giving certificates alongside the industry. And this one is building up on what we call the CBED, that is a competence-based education and training approach, whereby we package this curricula from occupational standards alongside the industry. So now, moving from now the CBED curriculum, now to the cooperative training, you see that we have the policy to bring in the industry to ensure that we are not training for the industry, but we are training with the industry for the industry. So this policy, I believe, is going to go a long way in creating the needed environment to ensure that we have cross linkages with the industries. Another policy that the ministry has worked on is what we call the recognition of prior learning. We have that policy framework, and currently we are in the implementation phase. And this one we are trying to bring onto board people who have gained skills outside of the formal system. Maybe some of them, like in Kenya, we have a very robust informal system known as Juakali. And those people in Juakali, they have skills, but they do not have the certification. There is no recognition. So to ensure that we are going to leave no one behind, we came up with the recognition of prior learning policy framework. And this policy framework, we are recognizing those kind of skills which are not offered in the mainstream, but they are offered in the informal sector. And this RPL is not only going to ensure that we are going to recognize those skills, but it's also going to bring about the ease of skills migration across our boundaries, in the sense that Kenya is a host to a number of refugee communities, and these refugee communities, through the RPL, will be in a position to compete favorably with the hosts communities to ensure that they are going to they'll be also engaged in the job market. But with this rapid expansion, it has brought a strain of which the government is also committed to ensure that it will overcome this strain. And some of these includes the fact that due to the expansion of the infrastructure, to accommodate the growing trainee numbers, there is a need, there is a big need to have more expansion, thereby mopping these numbers. And the other one is that building capacity of TVET trainers to upgrade their skills to be in tandem with the current industry requirements, as well as equipping them with pedagogical skills required to implement the CBET curriculum. So these are emerging issues that has come with the fact that with the improvement or increase in access and equity to TVET, that one, we have the need to establish an effective quality assurance system that is internationally benchmarked, because what we are saying here is that our qualification framework must be internationally benchmarked to ensure that our trainees will be able to work across internationally. The fourth one is that establishment. We are also, what has come to fore is that we need to have the establishment of production units, which we can variously call learning factories in all TVET institutions, to ensure that all departments are used optimally in skills training and commercial production processes, as well as exposing trainees to the industrial environment during training. And this one can also serve the double purpose of spurring the industrial growth as the starting point for cottage industries and the like. The fifth challenge that we have seen is the need to establish scholarship, bursaries, and evolving loans for TVET trainees to make the training affordable. The sixth one, we have establishing supportive linkage and partnership with the international communities and the private funds of TVET.
Amongst our students. Focus is another aspect of competency-based curriculum. We don't focus on grades anymore. Peter already mentioned that as well, but we focus on the learning process and how it is organized. So not just what you teach, but how you teach it and how you learn it. One big element in competency-based curriculum is its flexibility by nature. So there is a lot of room for the teachers to design the learning process in a way that they can use different kinds of pedagogical approaches or assessment methods that are suitable for learning certain kinds of competencies. And it is also important that the students have an active role in this learning process. So they are the ones who are constructing the knowledge, and they do it in collaboration with their peers and other stakeholders, for example, the representatives of the world of work and so on. And they also need to have opportunities to demonstrate what they have learning. So it's a way new way to assess their learning. Then one important aspect is also the learning environment. So classrooms, as we have heard this morning already, are perhaps not the best ways or best places to learn in some cases. So we need to think about how we can provide these authentic learning situations for our students, and there's where this collaboration with the world of work comes to place, and the different ways of doing that between the educators and the companies and the students. And then also another aspect about competency-based curriculum is this idea of building on existing knowledge. So we need to create processes for identification and recognition of competencies. And this should take place before, during, and even after the learning process. And also taking into consideration that the competence can be achieved from different ways or different places. So it doesn't matter where the competence has been acquired. If the student can demonstrate it, then it's fine. And then a last point here is that we have already discussed earlier as well, and also enable process. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, the team from Finland, our PS, higher ed, other PSS, CSS, colleague educators, and members of the Fourth Estate. I just want to thank the team from Finland for the elaborate articulation on the CBC so that we as Kenyans can learn from you and try to perfect what we are doing currently. I had the singular privilege to be one of the architects of CBC in Kenya. And I remember I'm the one who presented the first model to His Excellency President Uhuru in State House, Mombasa, and did the pilot on CBC in the country and made many recommendations which we shall hopefully enrich the conversation to CBC. I think as Kenyans, competency-based curriculum is a 21st century pedagogy. So I don't think the debate is whether we should go CBC or not. The debate is how do we do it right? How do we move it forward? I saw in Finland you have very nice small classes. Tomorrow I'll show you a primary school in Homa Bay that had 160 students in a classroom. Those are the challenges we have to grapple with as a people of Kenya as we adapt, as we join the rest of the world in implementing the competency-based curriculum. But today I've been given a different topic. I've been asked to talk about the future of the Kenyan higher education in a disruptive world. I've added that word, disruptive world. And I will not go through my presentation, but I'll just be sharing scattered ideas on what the future is. By the way, I've not been asked to talk about university education in Kenya. I've been asked to talk about the future. Where is it going? So I'll not talk about funding. There's no money. I'll not talk about funding. I'll not talk about capacity, staff. We all know the quagmire we are in now. But where are we going in the future? So the next slide. I think since independence, there has been tremendous growth in university education from the first one, the University of East Africa, Makerere, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, and now in Kenya, I'm sure we have about 100 plus universities. So we have grown. And it was an elite system, but now there is massification. Everybody can actually go to university. The only person who can't go to university is if you come from a deprived background. But if you are the son of a hero or the daughter of a hero, even if you get a D+, somehow I'll nurture you to go and eventually end up in the university. So things have changed. And the justification for us was the human capital theory that education leads to development. And then the investment in our economic growth as a country, equal opportunity. In other words, I'm saying this expansion was driven by certain imperatives that included human capital and economic development of our country. Next slide. We also believe that, next slide please. We also believe that if Kenya was to develop, we need to do research. I think it has been mentioned. And that we had to fund Nairobi University, our mother university, adequately. And then my university, when I talk about my university, I'm the Vice Chancellor of Daystar, but my professorship belongs to Moi University. So when I say my university, I mean Moi University. They had to be funded. They had to be funded so as to allow for research to go on. And you know that a university like Moi has been nominated 6 times for the Nobel Peace Prize in medicine. A lot of research has gone on in Moi at Ampath for the mitigation of the impact of HIV/AIDS on the population in Kenya and East Africa as a whole. So research was a worthwhile expenditure. And so universities were reasonably funded. Next. But ladies and gentlemen who are here, my point is this. This is the end of the golden age for universities in Kenya and in East Africa. If you saw the intake into university this year, almost 50,000 students refuse to go to university. They are going to TVET institutions. So the era of the golden age where it mattered, you know, that village boy who went to Nairobi University or Kenyatta University or Egerton and was known by the whole village, that era is gone. The golden age for universities is fast disappearing, and the period is now drawing to a close as a new set of factors come into play. And I think as vice chancellors, my colleagues who are here, that realization is very important, that nobody really values you as much as they used to value you as a university. And it is what you are able to do, what your graduates are able to do, that then gives value to that university. And that's why I was very impressed with our ministry asking us to give our niche areas. So what is Daystar known for? Daystar is known for communication. Where is your niche? Then you'll be recognized. Otherwise, the golden age for universities, I am saying, is gone. So what does that mean? As a teacher of statistics, this is what it tells me. We must change the trajectory we have been walking on. That trajectory where students would come to your university and there is no premium placed on the student. There is no value. There is no trust. You must change that trajectory. So I've just tried to figuratively put that down. If we continue the way we are doing universities and we base our trajectory on past growth rates, we shall make a very bad prediction of our future. If we base it on the present growth, again, it is a bad prediction, because now students, as the TVET people have said here, students are now more attracted to go into the TVET areas because they know eventually they can go to the university. The path is there. So what am I hypothesizing here is that we must take radical measures as universities and establish an exponential growth so that we can make a correct prediction for the future. If we don't engage in a radical approach to allow us to have an exponential growth, we shall not make the correct prediction for the future. Because many people now are questioning the value of a university degree in Kenya. There are many university graduates who, you know, because of there being no jobs, they have a paper, they don't have a skill, they are ending up doing odd jobs. So you can no longer tell them it is reasonable, it is rational to come to a university. I think that's the big challenge that we have. I also want us to engage a little with this research we did with Professor Wiseman of Texas Tech University in the US. And we are looking at, and I think this debate has been on the floor, and I really want us to education does not. I think that's very, very. How do we improve the efficiency in our systems? There are a lot of global funds out there in research. Tons and tons of millions of dollars in research. And for universities that are engaged in research, you can bring in a lot of money that will help you overcome that situation you are in. I have had an advantage of being in a public and a private university. At Daystar, 40% of my time, 40%, I am not supposed to be in Daystar. 40% of my time is for fundraising. I must be in the UK, the US, wherever, looking for funds to fund the university. So the mindset of thinking about the treasury must begin to go away, because the world is getting too competitive, and you must see collaborations with these other global institutions to help us overcome our perennial budget constraints. But I want you to look at this graph. Look at ABC. I've drawn an arbitrary line, ABC. Look at outputs versus budget. You can see as budget is increasing on the x-axis, the outputs are decreasing. I don't know whether the CS curriculum implementation is here. When I was in Moi, we won the tender to before my brother Kosgei came, to supply tablets in primary schools. I'm talking about budgets don't come out in outputs. And we supplied, as a university, we set up a factory like this size, the size of this building, for assembling those tablets. They're assembled at Moi University. And we send them out to schools. 95% of primary schools receive those tablets at a cost of about 700 million shillings. The tender we had. When we went to do the pilot study for the CBC, there was 95% presence of tablets, but 5% utilization. So you are pumping money, but that money is not being utilized. I think we need to change our mindset and ask ourselves, how do we improve the internal efficiencies of our universities? So this was not, now this was the Kenya government pumped a lot of money into digital tablets. And in most houses, most schools we went through, there were the chief's house for security. Even schools in Nairobi, they had locked them up. They didn't want problems with those tablets. They had locked them up. And you ask where are they? They're saying, me, I don't want problems with the PS. I don't want problems with the CS. When they come, I'll show them their tablets. Again, we are thankful to the government. They have done so much in equipping tertiary institutions in Kenya. Almost every county has a state-of-the-art TVET institution. But the question I'm asking is this. When you go to Shamberere Technical Training Institute and you find all that layout done by the Chinese, and then you find 5 students in that setup of graphics using computers, that explains why expenditure is not equivalent to quality outputs. So my question is this: what type of reform would be the most effective to be implemented? I think as scholars, we must ask ourselves, what type of reform? If the budget is high and for concern for output is low, then fundamental reforms must come out. We must find a way to improve our internal efficiencies as universities as we move forward. And I put that statement deliberately. These reforms will go beyond political rhetoric, tokenism, and mere symbolism. You know, in Kenya, CBC has become a symbol. Mere symbolism. It must go beyond that if we want to go where we want to go. So what are the implications of this for us in the sector? What are the implications? Universities must realize that the face-to-face approach will not last moving forward. Take the example of UNISA in South Africa. I don't know the population of UNISA, but UNISA has almost 500,000. Yes. It is borderless. So if you are still insisting on face-to-face brick and mortar, that era is going away at university level. Industry is questioning our graduates. So if you want an engineer, industry wants that engineer to come and fit in, must have been on the floor of that industry and engaged in practice and skills acquisition. But if in our universities we are doing engineers who are theoretical or chemists, the industry will reject them. They would rather go for somebody from that technical training institute who has floor experience. So that's the implication. We must engage in problem-based learning that has a vocational element to it. Go to the next slide. I have seen many employers. By the way, my going to a private university has taught me a lot, and I've removed a lot of biases I had in my mind. You know, I used to have biases. But if you meet students in a private university, they are flexible, they communicate, they dare. They are very daring in what they want to do. They play around with technology day and night. So what are employers looking for? Employers are looking for young men and women who have social skills, have emotional intelligence, they can engage in teamwork, communication, and they value time. That's what they're looking for. So, the implication is that we as universities have to transform ourselves so that we are producing graduates who will be able to fit into the market without requiring too much further training, because there are other institutions doing that and employers will pick them up because they are cheaper. the next graph, I just want to emphasize this, that maybe with the new curriculum, both at basic and university, we need to make, just like entrepreneurship, we need to make emotional intelligence almost a compulsory subject. We have just gone through the elections in Kenya, and you keep wondering, is that so-and-so saying this? And last week they were saying this. And then you begin to say, either I am mad or somebody else is mad. We are talking about our value systems. It is not enough to have engineers, doctors, lawyers, and yet we have not developed their value system. Those of you who are good at statistics, that graph is a plot and there's a line of best fit. You can see the R squared value there is 0.6621. What does that mean? It means in terms of performance, your emotional intelligence contributes over 50% today. In terms of performance, this was actual research done among principals of high schools in Kenya. So yes, it is good to have that degree, the bachelor's or the master's. That is the hardware of the brain. But you'll become more successful if you are a relational person. If your matters of the heart are good. If you care. If students can trust you, that helps in forming the society like Finland. I remember the last speaker, and thank you for that presentation, when you kept on talking about trust. When do you start inculcating trust? It starts down there. So that you can trust the teacher. You don't have to have an inspector, and that things will go on as expected. Ladies and gentlemen, next slide. Universities have been running out of road, and we are going past the equilibrium point. Those of us who are chemists, La Chatelier's principle, the point of balance, we are going over, where human aspiration and economic reality are balancing each other, and there's a lot of tension in Kenya around there. You know, you ask yourself, why should somebody pay money to our university and somebody gets a degree in whichever, I don't want to be biased, and then another student goes to Sigalagala Technical and does plumbing or masonry? That is the tension between human aspiration and economic reality. So today, my plumber or the electrician back home in Kakamega, I marvel, I adore them. They come at their own will when I want them to do anything for me. But there are many university students who have gotten degrees and they are sitting on the roads waiting for politicians to pass by. Those are the realities and the future of where we are going. So what are the critical variables? And what I've been talking about is the education production function model, the works of Hanushek and the others. What are the things we are looking for? If you go to a typical university, they are struggling with those things. Instructional materials, equipping labs, workshops, and all those things, classes, physical space, teacher quality. And teacher quality, universities from CBC, at university level we are going towards problem-based learning. And again, give credit where it is due. You know that Moi University School of Medicine has stood strong over the years because they adapted problem-based learning about 25 years ago. So that is one thing I've imported from Moi. I went to Daystar and I said, we are not going to have the lecture method. We are going problem-based learning. I think the director is here, Professor Muridi, I don't know where you're sitting. Yeah, you're there. We have gone problem-based learning completely. So the issues of notes and people memorizing, coming to regurgitate and then saying they have understood something is going away. But I want you to look at the bullet number 4 as I wind up. Opportunity to learn. And I think all of us in this room have to share this with, it's not about the government, it's all of us here. I have argued very strongly about the 100% transition policy. I've argued very strongly. And it is a very nice thing. Because now Lumino Secondary School in my village had 200 students, now they have 600. How nice. But last year Lumino had 157 candidates in KCSE, and the best 2 students had C+, 2 out of 157. The rest have gone back to the village, masquerading as having been educated. So Lumino Secondary School will never produce the lawyer, the doctor, the engineer, the graduate teacher. Never. This is what I'm calling silent exclusion of the poor. But I remember there was Musanda Secondary School in Kakamega those years. It was a small school. And I know many doctors and lawyers who went through Musanda Secondary School because numbers were manageable. So as we sit here, can we get worried about this silent exclusion? So I'm glad you said in Finland there is equity. This is what I'm talking about. So a child at Alliance Boys, at Mangu High School, you know, will go for medicine, will go for engineering. But the child of that other person will be silently excluded. And then they become gullible. They become victims of the system. So we must be very careful. When you argue about 100% transition, you must understand the economics of education. It is about the economics of education. What is the end result as that you're looking for? So please move to the next slide on digital revolution. And I just want to, I think I'll stop on this slide, this one and the next one, because of the time. Universities, we must be sensitive to this. Just look at this. Research is showing that e-learning is expected to enjoy a command annual growth rate of 10.5% in the coming 3 years. That is the future. So, how are we in terms of ICT penetration in our institutions? How are we in terms of internet provision? That is the future that we are talking about. And that's the challenge we have. across the country. And when you go to high schools, to basic education, the challenges are even more. So I'll finish with this slide. If you look at that graph, that's what I'm talking about. The percentage of possible performance up to around 1990, the book-based paradigm was very good. But it has plateaued. I'm not saying books are bad, they're very good. But the people who have the advantage, and this is a class issue, and they are sitting in the internet-based paradigm, you can see that growth is exponential. So that child in Moyale, Tana River, Lokitang, Moyale, Garissa, Vihiga will never catch up. So those are the issues we are grappling with, not just at basic education, but even at universities. So Bwana PS, we thank you. I think Kenyans really were celebrating when you gave us another, was it 10 universities? Just imagine on one day in the afternoon it is raining in a tent and you give out 10 universities to the Republic of Kenya. I know my brother is here, one of the vice chancellors of the new university. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Hello. Hello. Can we stand up? Just try and move out of your seat a little bit and take 3 steps in front. 3 steps, not 4. Put your left hand forward. Left hand forward. Turn right. Hey, right for you is the other way. Right for me is this way. Turn left. When you turn left, where do you end up? You end up facing me. Some are facing that side, others are facing this side. Professor Airo, what do you call that? Okay, can you make an about turn? 3 steps back. Others are making 3 steps forward. I said 3 steps back. You should be getting closer to where I am. Right turn. Where is your right? Right. These presenters a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. I will ask them to give us 3 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes. It is difficult to make a presentation in the afternoon because majority of us, instead of agreeing to the tenet of less is more, went for more. And so, as Professor Airo was presenting, we were very quiet, but equally quiet, but agreeing with everything that he was saying. So that even when I asked my friend behind there, near the aircon, what EPFM is, they may not recall what EPFM is. And I'm not going to call out names. I can see you, Bernard, you're checking your notes. Stop checking the notes. It's a tough period after lunch, and we'll give 3 chances for questions to our presenters, and we'll ask lady participants. Only 3. One from this end, another one in the middle, another one at that end. There are no ladies in the hall. Get the mic here, please. Thank you. Kindly get the mic to the chair, Kati. I can see Professor Chacha is protesting that the Constitution requires a third gender rule. This side.
Was attitude of the teachers towards CBC. Then there was capacity. Then there was instructional materials. And then there was financing. So attitude was one of the variables that we needed to create resources to change the attitude of the teachers. And so when we took the computers, the government played its part, but they were locked up. Thank you very much. You know, as we build TVET institutions, good economic planning means that we must have a commensurate level of economic development so that they can absorb those skills. So it is not done in isolation. You just don't do TVET institutions and the economy is not spurred up to absorb those people. I think that's the big gap. But I'm not convinced that it is rational planning for you to talk of 100% transition, and yet you are investing so much in youth polytechnics in all the counties. And you are herding everybody into these classrooms, the famous empty classrooms. And the TVET institutions are lying idle when they are equipped and serviced by the county governments. I think that's the tension that exists in society. And we've got to have that thinking as we move on. But isn't it very expensive for you to take somebody to Form 4 and the household is doing most of the funding of that student in spite of the free secondary fees, and then that person comes back to the household, and now you want to take them to TVET, to a youth polytechnic? That's the tension we need to deal with ourselves. Thank you.
And there will be opportunities to discuss that further in the breakaway sessions. Due to constitutional demand, Professor Chacha.
Okay, I think, thank you very much, Bana Director. I just want to make an observation. Wonderful presentations, Laban as usual, very motivating and captivating. But I think the question, why do people go to school? What is the motivation? And I think that is the dichotomy, the difference between the experience in Finland and the experience in Kenya. I think in a liberal system where, as you have aptly said, Laban, the economy is vibrant and therefore openings for job opportunities are available, individuals go to school to earn skills for life, to get competences so that they can continue being good citizens in an environment where whatever their input and outputs are, they are valued and I think appreciated. But I'm not sure whether people in this country will go to school for lifelong learning or just to get educated so that, because I think we have tended to think that we go to school so that we can be employed. And we can be employed so that we are paid a salary for livelihood. But the agony that Laban is trying to explain comes about by the fact that we have no statistical data that can inform decision making at the a priori level before you go into education system. I want to give you an example of some of the fads we have gone through which have been very costly. In the 90s, in the 80s, there were only 2 holders of a degree in actuarial science in this country. And they were making a lot of money because the areas where their knowledge was required was expanding, insurance funds were expanding, pension schemes were becoming more because of employment opportunities. And then people started thinking that that's the best program that your son and daughter should pursue. And the universities indeed, without any computational evaluation of the future of employment opportunities in this area, just offered that program. Every university started advertising that they can offer actuarial science. And many Kenyans went into degrees called actuarial science. And many of them right now are not working in areas where the knowledge, skills, and competences of an actuarial scientist are required. They are unemployed. They are frustrated. Those are the ones waiting for villagers in marketplaces, I mean for politicians in marketplaces. So I think there is something wrong empirically that we can prove that our educational process, our educational system, in terms of what it is that we go to school or college to do, and why we are going to college to do what we want to do. And the future has been having a lot of mismatch. And I think that is where the dichotomy defines the difference between Finland and ourselves. And maybe for purposes of our meeting, we need to interrogate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chacha. Question would be, what is our philosophy of education? Why do we go to school? And because of our 50-50 vote here, Professor Kombo, tafadhali. Swali la mwisho hili.
Thank you so much. My name is Professor Kisilu Kombo from Kenyatta University, Kenya, for the sake of the foreigners who are here with us. Mine is like, I want to take the cue from Professor Chacha. Mine is just really to be sad because of the observation that Professor Ayiro has given me. And I want to say that your presentation was thick. It really ignited and made me thinking. But the question that I want to put across is that we have heard of Malaysia, we have heard of Singapore, and when we were starting, we were even better than those countries. The question that I want to ask, and I'm happy at least we were brought here, this kind of discussion, and given what Professor Ayiro has given us, we know these things, people have spoken about them, and yet we have never even moved an inch forward. What would be the problem? When did rain start beating us? And this is a debate which may not really end here, and I wish it can be continued, and I wish, PS, you can also give us another chance like this one for all of us now to be able to address it and find out why is it that when it comes to talking, we know all the answers, but implementation, zero. I raise my case.
Can we ask our friends from Finland to respond before Professor Ayiro?
So thank you very much, but first I have to ask that because I didn't hear quite well what was actually the question, but of course I can answer without that, but then it depends on, the responsibility is on the listeners now. Well, you mentioned that there's several assets, Malaysia, Singapore and things like that, but what comes to shortly on my mind here is that we should keep here in mind one thing, that what is actually the theme of this Congress, it's co-creation. So as my colleague said here already earlier, that we are here to tell what kind of experiences, how we can do things, and as I said, I'm here to learn. So you know, I think, the best, what is best for Kenya and Kenyan education, and we can be your partners in doing that thing. And this is the Finnish way that we do the things. We want to hear and we want to cooperate and co-create the things here. But what is very interesting to notice here, what is similar in Finland and in Kenya, who are the most critical towards education. It's those who are working in education. So, and that's good because we like very much the constructive criticism. So we can build the development based on that, so that we don't accept everything that's told to us that this is good system, this is bad system. We have to think what fits to us. So thank you very much. This was my answer. I didn't quite get the question, but these are my thoughts based on your speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I also wanted to comment about your question of why do we go to school, and also you are kind of reflecting that sometimes we go to school only to get a place to work, and sometimes the world changes and jobs disappear and so on. So I want to emphasize the importance of these transversal skills, like creativity was mentioned in the opening words here as an important skill for the students to learn, and perhaps critical thinking is another one, ability to take initiative and so on. So these kind of meta skills that we can teach to our students can help them in the moment. The world changes so fast, and we don't know what kind of qualifications or programs we need in the future, but these skills that we can provide to our students, they will help them to find their place in that changing world. Thank you.
I think, Prof. Kombo, thank you very much. And that's why a lot of us have real concerns. You want 100% transition, kids walking through that gate into the classrooms. After 4 years, you want them to walk out. What process have they gone through in those 4 years? No labs, no books. When you send books, you send tons of books that are of no consequence. I mean, those are the issues as a Kenyan you need to deal with. Today, Form 4s in Kenya, the only books they read are the set books. Blossoms of Savannah, etc. How many books did we read when we were in high school? The East African Writers series, how many books? We combed all Chinua Achebe's books, Peter Abrahams, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Julius Caesar. That was the process that you're going through. You cannot do that process when you have 100 students in a classroom. Thank you.
A round of applause for our presenters, please. Thank you very much, and we'll continue engaging with them. They're still here with us. And Professor Kombo, we should tell ourselves, what is the problem? Why are we not moving forward? Maybe it could be the same way I asked you to move 2 steps and some moved 3 steps this way instead of the other way. That could be a problem that we have to address. A few announcements. We're going to go into breakaway sessions. We are running this afternoon session up to 5 o'clock for our health break. Tomorrow morning we begin at exactly 8 o'clock. Dr. Mesha Kopora will be leading us with a recap, and I hope Professor Okech from Technical University of Kenya, you will be set to guide us through the session immediately after that. Thank you. And after this, the rapporteurs will accompany some of us to the various breakaway rooms. And I'm being informed, those of us who have red badges, if the strap around your badge is red, you leave it at the registration desk for it to be replaced. You need to look like me and the others who are in blue so that we can identify you. And TVET, our colleagues from TVET institutions, the TTIs, the VTT institutions, and colleagues from post-training and skills, kindly stand up. And we are going to conduct this in a very orderly manner. I have the permission of the PS to ensure that everybody is orderly. So we stick to order. Director Mulati, where are you? Director Mulati? Chair Kati? Yes, kindly follow the Chair Kati and Latifa and Cynthia. Latifa and Cynthia, they're behind there. Follow them to Pelican Hall. Carry your belongings, please, because after the breakaway session, we'll meet tomorrow morning. But you are in Pelican up to 5 o'clock. Kindly follow the Chair Kati. Those are the TVET and post-training. Director Chacha, where are you? Not this Chacha, there's another director. We'll have our breakaway session, and tomorrow morning we'll report back on the key issues we deliberate in those breakaway sessions. So that is a TVET. I think it's the biggest. Thank you very much for moving out in an orderly way. I hope the guard at the security at the gate can open the gate